Kelly DeBoer, and I'm a pre-K specialist.
That's great. And I'm Sue Rose. I would say, Kelly, just go ahead and introduce our special guest.
Sure. So joining us today, we have Monica Flynn and Mariana Ross from Child Care Aware, and we have Soleil Boyd from University of Washington Sequel, and they will be sharing information and resources that we hope you will find helpful as you support your staff in moving through their improving their early achievers ratings. We can go to the next slide, Svenja. And today we're going to cover a variety of topics. We're going to look at some of the data, what we know about the sites that we're supporting here today. We're going to talk about collaborative partnerships. We're going to very quickly review the remedial activities policy and timelines in remedial activities. Then we're going to get in-depth information from Monica and Mariana and Soleil around resources and training opportunities that are coming up. And then we're going to look at questions. We have a question for you all that we're going to be exploring, and we'd love your input on. So at that point, we'll open up for some more discussion. And then we have an opportunity for you all to ask us questions. The next slide, please, Svenja. Our goal of today, we really want to find out what you think will be the most helpful in assisting your sites in moving forward. We want to share resources and training opportunities to support your sites in reaching their early achievers goals, and we want to focus on fostering collaborative communication towards the same goal. Go ahead. So, what do we know? We know that everyone rated very well in the class domains of emotional support and classroom organization. As you can see, the threshold 3.5, and nobody fell below that. When we look at the next slide, that looks at instructional support. The threshold for instructional support is a 2. That's represented by the black line, and we can see that a number of sites fell below that minimum threshold in instructional support. So we know that instructional support is an area of focus. We also have data from the environmental rating scale, which has a minimum threshold of a 3, and we can see that the data there is very mixed. There's many sites that rated above a 3, and there's many sites that rated below a 3 in ERS. Another area of focus. So Sue Rose, how would you like to do our poll?
Well, thanks for going over that, Kelly. We're going to have Svenja Cooper launch the poll for us. We were just interested in finding out what you're most looking forward to talking about today. And so that should be up and running. So if you can give us some input, that way we kind of know whether we're hitting the mark or not. And then if it turns out, this is also just information we'll be able to gather. Oh, that's nice. To help us with future webinars in our support of you guys. So we will keep it open for just a little bit more so that we can get everyone's information. Any more coming in? Okay. So why don't we go ahead and we'll close that poll and then share the results so that everyone can see kind of where we're at as a group. And it looks like almost half of you are interested in resources and training opportunities. And then the next one is remedial activities. About 33% are interested in that. And then the other one is collaborative partnerships. So that's cool, 13%. Okay, thanks for launching that, and thanks for participating, those of you who did that. Collaborative partnerships. So I put on here that, you know, we really do the best supporting of sites when everyone who's involved with the site is on the same page. So if you're in a school district, really ensuring that everyone at the school district, whether it's your superintendent, the principal, if they're on board and understand what's happening regarding early achievers and what that looks like, along with site directors, the early achievers coach, and maybe there's an ECAP funded coach as well. So just making sure that everyone is on the same page really goes a long way in the success of a site in early achievers. And so on that same note, we have just in talking about coach collaboration, and so I'll just spend a little bit of time on this today because I know we have a lot to go over with our guest speakers, but when you do have more than one coach, you'll want to make sure that, make sure that you can identify the other coach or coaches that are working with that site. And then set up an initial meeting, and you can create an agenda together, and then outline areas of ongoing communication. And then you can also, I have a link here in this PowerPoint to the coach collaboration document. And Svenja, if you click on that, I'm hoping that everyone on this webinar today has seen this document, and it's really just guidance, and it's a pretty lengthy document, but it shows you how to kind of get started in that and different things to consider when working with another coach. Who's really good at ECHRS or class, who's going to support on which goal, and so just scrolling through that, Svenja, you can kind of see that that's what this slide is about. And then also having that goal-setting meeting with the site director if there's actually a director at the site. So this coach collaboration document is actually, it's listed on our website, and I believe I'll be taking you guys to our new website at the end of this slideshow. Thank you for that, Svenja. All right, remedial activities and timelines. Okay, so here's the next slide. Yep, this one. Okay, so I just wanted to make it clear who's participating in remedial activities. So I also have added the remedial activities policy for anyone's viewing pleasure. And really, sites that rated a level 2 are going to be going through remedial activities. And really we're sticking with that language, even though we've heard back from many that it's not the best term to be using, but we follow along with the Early Start Act language, so that's why we're kind of sticking with that. But if you rated a level 2, you'll be going through remedial activities. And then sites that rated a level 3, but their ECAP classrooms didn't meet the minimum thresholds in either class or ECHRS, will also be going through remedial activities. So we also have here on this slide, and it won't be necessary, Svenja, to click on these necessarily, but tools and some support for remedial activities. I have a link there for Coaching Companion, and I think Soleil might touch on this piece a little bit today during our talk. And then there's also an initial rating, interpretation, and planning guide that I believe we also have on our DEL website as a way to help guide that discussion around the rating information. Okay, so next slide. Okay, so this is just important for, just so that we're all on the same page, is that coaches are going to be updating the quality improvement plan and making notes in wells, and we're looking at once per month during this period, more often as necessary. And then the second bullet is the quality improvement plan and walls must contain all notes related to the progress during remedial activities. So I pulled this information directly from the remedial activities policy. So that's why it kind of sounds a little bit, got a lot of must and very directive statements here. And then also checking in, the coach and the primary QRIS contact are going to check in at least monthly to review progress on goals. And so with ECAP, this may look a little bit different because depending on who you have listed as the primary QRIS contact. Okay, that's a good question. Someone passed me a note, and I don't really have the answer to that, so I'll have to bring that up. Okay. So Svenja, are there any questions coming in? Okay. All right. The next slide is around timelines. Okay. So if you've ever looked at that remedial activities policy, it has a timeline on there that can sometimes, at least for me, I found it to be a bit confusing. And what I have here on your screen right now may also be confusing. So it's totally okay if you have questions about timelines, but it's pretty straightforward. But what I did is I put in the top band the time frame around remedial activities, right? So within 60 days of your rating release date, the action in the next row is you're going to create a QIP with sites. And then at that very bottom row, what I did is that's just basically, for me, a way to keep track of the time that has passed since your rating was actually released. Because it just helps me keep it in mind about how much time has elapsed since that rating was finalized. So as we just move along in the top part, after 60 days of rating notification, that's when we're talking about remedial activities beginning. And for sites that are closed, which many of you are closed during the summer, you're going to want to send the QRIS inbox your site calendar. Is that right, Minette?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, great. Because they need to make a change. They need to make a change in your time frame so that it's not including the summer. And then, so anyway, as we move forward, you'll see at the bottom, you're looking at from the date that your rating was released, you're looking at about 6 to 8 months where at the 6 to 8 month mark is when your data collection is going to happen. So it's really 6 months of remedial activities. So does anyone have any questions about that specific slide? Because I know that I'm going to answer Christy's question about a QRIS contact for ECAP sites. So what I wanted to, I'm going to have Minette answer this question. Is that right? Because I feel like I know the answer to it.
Yes. Ultimately, the QRIS inbox are going to be, the folks who are managing that inbox are going to be the ones that want that information, but you can always send it to me if you want a single point of contact, and I can make sure the right people get it.
And actually, but I think what Christy is asking is the QRIS primary contact for ECAP sites is sometimes someone at a higher level within the contractor. So like an ed coordinator might be listed as the primary contact at an ECAP. So the coach wouldn't necessarily want to be meeting with that person simply because they're listed in merit. You're going to want to meet with the people at the site that makes sense to support that site. And then you'll meet with the primary QRIS contact if it's actually someone that makes sense. Sometimes contractors have someone listed in that level that is actually the person who's running, moving all sites through early achievers at the contractor level, but may not necessarily be in the details of the coaching piece. So I'm hoping that I've made sense of that. So Christy, if you want to type in and let me know if that made sense or not. And the other thing is, Elaine, I wanted to let you know that this timeline is actually captured in the remedial activities policy, which is on our DEL website. And it should be on our ECAP page. And again, I'll take you guys to our website later in this webinar. And then, Svenja, if you can move one more slide. Okay, so this is actually the example that was pulled directly out of the remedial activities policy. And so it kind of walks you through a part year example. If your rating was released on April 15th, and then you go on break and you email the QRIS inbox to your calendar, and then it just outlines those same timelines that were on the other one. But it just kind of shows it in a little bit more of a fluid way, the actions that are going to be taking place. And if you have any questions specifically about your sites, just know that we're available to you. Callie and I are, and so we're happy to talk with you. And we have Manette available that we can get on a call with you. We want to really be able to help you feel supported during this time and make sure that you have answers to your questions. Okay, one more slide. Okay, and then actually, Svenja, is there anything you'd like me to answer really quick? Nope, okay. So I believe that Monica and Mariana are going to take over, and we'll give them the presenter skills, and then we'll mute ourselves.
So Mariana and I from the Childcare Aware Washington team are here to provide some information that may be helpful to you, whether you are coaching with CCA or ECAP, and we hope that we can continue building strong partnerships as we move forward with this process, supporting providers be successful in the renewal activities process. And so we just wanted to talk a little bit about, like Sue and Kelly were explaining earlier, what coaching coordination is, and really, is the process of supporting those providers who receive coaching services from multiple funding sources. And, while more services may be great to have access to, it can also bring some challenges, such as timely access to resources and aligned vision and professional learning opportunities that may be available, but we don't know that are there. So part of some of the strategies that we suggest from the CCA team is to attend the regional relationship-based professional development meetings that are taking place at the different CCA regional offices. So we're going to share at the end of this webinar a map that has a breakdown of counties across the state of Washington, and it has the regional coordinator information, including an email, so that you can get in touch with them if you feel like this could be a good opportunity to connect with other coaches serving providers who are going through this process. And we don't have a specific calendar with dates because they change and people's schedules change, and they also schedule these meetings according to different needs. So there's flexibility around the way these meetings get scheduled. So what we do encourage is that you have close communication with our regional partners. We also hope that you can identify different ways to find the different resources. So we have at the CCA system access to SharePoint, which is sort of a cloud that holds a lot of resources and materials that CCA coaches have access to, or rating readiness consultants. So as you start meeting with them and getting to know them, you're welcome to talk to them about some of those resources that they may be bringing to the classrooms that you may be coaching together. And we will share a couple guides that will be helpful to you, hopefully, related to ERS. And Kelly has information or the documents, so she'll be able to share those at the end of this webinar as well. And we call it's a visual guide to the ERS. So we have it for EDers, ECRs, and FICRs. So we imagine you're primarily working with ECRs and EDers, and we are having those tools translated into English, or Spanish and Somali. So just keep that in mind as well. And so we also hope that you can participate in joint training opportunities. So sometimes our partners at ECAP team may have trainings that they organize, and they may have some slots open, so we can encourage the CCA coaches to attend. And likewise, we may have some trainings on CCA that may be a great opportunity for ECAP coaches to be a part of. So what we hope is that we can continue that alignment. And when you see emails coming from us, please pay attention to them. And if they are not relevant to you, they may be to somebody you work with or a peer. So just keep an eye for those. And also, we encourage you to check with local CCA offices. Like I said, the map will be available to you for local training opportunities. So we have the Professional Development Academy, and we have state-approved trainers who develop trainings that align to ERS and CLAS, as well as other quality standards that may be very relevant for the providers that you're working with, whether directors can encourage the teachers, or you as coaches can encourage the teachers as well, or the directors so that you can be aligned in the concepts and implementation that you want to do in the classroom for this period of time. And now I'm going to pass it to Mariana, who's going to talk about a couple of things that we're also working within the CCA office.
So when we talk about some of the training that's available, one of the trainings that we're doing with our coaches is the ERS Community of Practice. And it is a community of practice format, so we try to have it be an interactive thing where we're sharing feedback, we're discussing the data trends that we're seeing, and then we're brainstorming some solutions. Because those of us who've worked in this field, we know that in dramatic play that you're going to see some common challenges that occur with more than one provider. So we'll talk about those kinds of things, and then we'll brainstorm some strategies. So you can see on the left are some topics that we've already completed. They're recorded and they are available for you. What will happen is if you click on these, there'll be a link, and then you can click on it. It'll open up a screen that'll ask you to register, and then all you have to do is put in your name and email address, and it'll take you right to the recording. Within those recordings, we've also developed some resources to go along with each topic. So for example, in the dramatic play webinar, you will find a resource that has a printable list of dramatic play materials that you might take to a provider. The provider who says, oh, I don't have anything, but you bring them this list and they say, oh, I do have some extra spatulas and I have some extra little costumes, and just a list that might help them to kind of jog their memory. So those are the recorded topics on the left, and then on the right you'll see that July 28th we have one coming up for nature and science. And then August 25th, we have one coming up for math and number. I do want to say that July 28th, that date might be moving because there is a conflict with the EA Institute happening on the same day in Eastern Washington. And so we're looking at maybe changing that date. But if you click on that link and register for it, you'll receive the updates, even if we do make a change to the date. And then once you register for one of our webinars, one of our community of practice, we will remind you for all the future ones what's coming up. We've had a lot of coaches who found these to be really valuable in increasing their understanding on specific items and having an opportunity to really discuss some of those challenges with their peers. So that's the ERS Community of Practice. And then another resource that we've been doing, and it does go along with the ERS Community of Practice, is our Pinterest boards. So for each of the topics that we've discussed in our ERS Community of Practice, we also have a corresponding Pinterest board. And that board has ideas of things that participants and early achievers might want to do. My background is a lot in the classroom and working in the centers. So what I've tried to do is really focus on making those resources that are realistic for classrooms to use. They're not going to be complicated things for the most part. We try to find a lot of things that providers can do that are going to be inexpensive, sustainable, and those kinds of things. So you'll find a number of ideas for different activities that you could do with providers or activities that providers could implement. And then you'll also find some resources for every one of these topics. We try to find books that are, early childhood provider books that are interesting to them, and then articles, videos, those kinds of things. And this is something that's dynamic. It's always growing. We're always getting ideas. We have coaches who follow us on Pinterest, and they send us suggestions of other things to put on there. And we would encourage you guys to follow us. You have our link down there at the bottom. You can find us on Pinterest. It's just CCA of Law. And you can also find us by using the hashtag Early Achievers. So you'll find a lot of our resources on there, and we're continuing to use that. So if you follow us, you'll get a lot of really great ideas. And we encourage you to share this with providers too, because this is really being developed to be a resource for coaches and for providers. So that's our Pinterest. Some other CCA resources we have, Monica mentioned the visual guide. So that's what you'll see there on the left. That's an example of the visual guide, what it would look like. And this one happens to be fine motor materials. So this was originally developed in Central Washington to be used with providers who had limited English proficiency and who maybe would need some picture ideas of what an item would look like. But we found that it's really useful with all sorts of providers because seeing an example of it will sometimes help them remember. They may not have the same vocabulary for it that we do, but seeing a picture will help them remember. In the middle, you'll see an example of a goal-setting guide for providers and teachers, and that's a class resource. We are working on developing some more class resources. There's a number of them that are also available through SQL and Coaching Companion, and I'm sure Soleil will talk about those kinds of things and how to get them. And then the Professional Development Academy, which Monica mentioned, on the bottom right is just one example of one title slide of one training that we have available. But we do have more than 100 different topics available of different types of training opportunities for early learning providers. Those are available through your regional offices, and on the map that you're going to get, which we've shared with Kelly, that will have some information about how to look at professional development opportunities in your region. You may wish to also call them if you are looking for specific things, but those are just some examples of CCA resources. I've shared with Kelly a copy of our ECHRS, FECHRS, and ITERS visual guides in English, and so she has a PDF of those that she can share with you. They are also available in Spanish and Somali, so if you do have providers who might benefit from that, we can certainly share that with you. The ITERS ones are out for translation right now, but they should be available shortly. And if you're interested in those, you can just contact us, and we'll be happy to share them with you.
LA. Shall I just go? Okay, I'll take that as a yes. My name's Soleil Boyd. I'm from the University of Washington SQL, and I'm going to talk a little more about coach support specifically in terms of training available to you as coaches. And I know there are also directors in this group and other administrators, so these are certainly opportunities available to a variety of people, but primarily coaches are the target audience. Also consultation for coaches, the Coaching Companion, and other online resources. And then a few tips about class and instructional support, because that's always a hot topic and we always want to do a little bit more there. I don't think I can control the slide, so next. There we go, great. Okay, upcoming trainings. I also don't have, I can't see the chat. But what I'd actually ask is if people could let in their chat, and then maybe Kelly or someone else can tell me the answers to these questions. I'm curious to know if there's anyone on this who has not attended the Coach Framework training. This is a critical training if you're coaching. We have another one coming up August 9th through 10th in Seattle. It goes over practice-based coaching processes and resources, as well as our guiding principles, which are resilience, culturally responsive coaching, and the parallel process. You can register using the link provided here, and the deadline is July 27th. The next training, thank you, that I want you all to know about is the Early Childhood Environment Rating Scale Revised, or the ECHRS-R. And that's coming up very soon as well. And we're kind of doing it in a couple of ways. First, there's going to be a one-day deep dive on August 4th. This is a one-day intensive training, very in-depth, and it teaches all the participants how to score from 1 to 7 on all the Eckers-R subscales. So I think many people have done this, many have not. Either way, it's a great review. We encourage participation in this event. And if you do not have a spiral, we will provide one. So that's that. And then to become reliable on the Eckers is a bit of a process. This is an additional 3-day process in which you would go in a very small group with one of our anchors to visit 3 early childhood sites and to do live coding and then to check reliability afterwards. If you achieve 85% reliability across each of 3 days, then you become a reliable observer and can conduct Eckers observations in your site as a reliable observer. This is kind of similar to the class observer reliability if you've ever done that. So these are coming up and because that's a very small group and requires a lot of very intensive planning, I don't have specific dates or locations for that one, but I do think Kelly and Sue may help you all get that together if you are doing that. And then finally, we have pre-K class observation and reliability trainings. We have not scheduled those yet because we're waiting sort of on the interest. So again, in your chat, if you have not done the coach training, if you have not done the Eckers training, and if you have not done pre-K class training, put it in the chat, let us know so we have a good idea of what you all need and would be helpful. But anyway, this is a 2-day training. I think many are familiar on the class dimensions with the goal of becoming a reliable observer after you complete your online test. So I'm going to pause briefly just to see if we have any questions because again, I can't see the chat. So Kelly or Sue, let me know if there's anything I need to be responding to. Okay.
This is Kelly, and I don't see anything, Soleil.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't see any questions at this time.
Great. Okay, we'll keep moving. The next feature, or the next sort of item on the sequel menu is coach consultation. And each of the coaches on this call are eligible, or you get access to this. Your consultant will be Wendy Jans, and she has been a consultant with SQL for 2 years, and prior to that worked in various capacities in early childhood settings, Head Start, with the National Center for Quality Teaching and Learning, and she has a reflective supervision practice. Coach consultation includes monthly phone calls or in-person meetings with each coach, so it's a one-on-one with your consultant. They're about 1 hour each, and it facilitates, and also in addition to that, there can be communities of practice facilitation for regions with groups of coaches. So if you're in the South Sound or in the Tacoma-Pierce region or area and you want to meet with other coaches, your consultant can help facilitate that and have a topic and guide that meeting if that's how you'd like to use consultation. And some of the features of consultation, of course, it's like coaching. It's like you get a coach, right? So your consultant is going to get to know you individually and review content of what consultation really looks like. So she will be pretty upfront with that. And then it's going to include setting a goal using the coach consultation goal setting guide. And then and it will also include follow-up from the new coach training for those of you who may be new to coaching. And even for those of us who have been coaching for a while, often we may forget what was in that training we did so long ago, and your consultant will refresh your memory on some of the resources you might already have. And then again, checking on progress towards your goals. So is the thing that you set out to do, how is it going? What were the barriers? How can we grow next time? So that is what coach consultation entails. And some of the benefits are that it's an opportunity to hone your coaching skills. It's really valuable as a coach to have someone who's helping to guide your practice in that same way. I speak from experience. I also have somebody that coaches me. It's really powerful. It also can help you to prepare for difficult conversations with a provider, a teacher, or a director. So a lot of the times coaching is really fun and dynamic, and sometimes there are challenging conversations that need to happen, and your consultant is someone you can talk with about that, who you can practice with, who can connect you to resources to have those conversations so that they are productive. And then also includes reflective inquiry used for problem-solving specific issues in coaching work. So again, Wendy has a strong background in reflective practice and supervision and uses sort of a set of resources to help you engage in reflective inquiry through consultation. All right, and so the next resource is the Coaching Companion, and you can find the Coaching Companion at cqelcoach.org. And the Coaching Companion is really powerful. I'll show you a screenshot in just a moment, but it really has three basic resources. The primary is to use for video observation and feedback. So I'm kind of jumping deep into coaching right now. I hope you can follow along with me, and I truly invite your questions in the chat, and then Kelly will let me know what they are. But we're moving into coaching now, and a lot of coaching, right, is observation and feedback. So what the Coach Companion does is help you do that through video. And video is so powerful because the more we see ourselves doing what we are supposed to do, the more we do it. So that's why we think the Coaching Companion is a really strong resource to promoting really high quality best practice. Another feature in the Coaching Companion is the Coach Training Calendar. Here's where you can find links to all the trainings I already listed above, the Eckers training, the upcoming class trainings, the coach training. And then there's a list of other resources there. And can you go to the next slide, and I'll point to a screenshot of that. So here we have the Coaching Companion, and I've kind of opened up this page. If you look kind of to your right, there's resources and additional assets. And if you scroll down, you'll see that orange highlighted SQL resources. And then we'll pop open these sort of black, gray, and white tabs, and you can look around and see all the various resources. I strongly recommend you search them because there's kind of a lot in there. You have to dig around a little bit. And so here we have a variety of resources. In the Early Achievers Coach resources, that's that bottom tab, you'll find webinars. So that's where you can find recordings of our past SQL webinars if you would like to listen to those. You can go to the next slide. And so again, more online resources. I just mentioned the SQL webinars, and so these are every second Thursday of every month, and you can email west@kexb.org to get signed up if you're not already on theirs. And then this is just reference to other webinars. Dell has them. Those are great. CCA already told you about the webinars. So I just wanted to highlight all the online resources, and I have a few more on the next slide. Oh, okay, sorry, not there. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the class now. I know I'm just jumping through a bunch of stuff, but I'm going to dive into class because this, along with Eckers and a few areas such as hand washing and others, but along with the Eckers, class is always an area where we want a lot more support. So just quickly overview of the class. The 3 domains are emotional support, classroom organization, and instructional support. And then instructional support is, of course, where we typically tend to focus because of the scores we see. Can you go to the next slide, please? And so here we see the average scores. Now I just highlight, these are the national averages, and I only bring them up to say that we are not alone. You know, we saw similar scores in early achievers ratings when it comes to emotional support, doing really well, classroom organization, doing pretty well, and then instructional support, that's an area where, you know, within early achievers we find that we need more resources, and that's consistent nationwide. Next slide. And so there are some great class online resources that really target those specific practices. And I want to introduce you to them if you don't know. So first, basics is the Level 2 Early Achievers Training, Introduction to ERS and Class, and you can log in through CCA Dell trainings there. Again, through the Coaching Companion, you can search for these resources. Working the Muscles of the Mind handouts, Maximizing Learning Time, PowerPoint and handouts, and again the past SQL Coach webinars that I pointed out that are there in the resources. Another great resource to really help focus on class interactions is the teachstone.com library, video library account. This is not free, so it's certainly not required, but if you do have the capacity to purchase that, it's a great way for teachers to see the specific instructional support practices that we are trying to promote. And then I think there are some more really great resources. So again, another place for resources that are really powerful. If you have not heard of the National Center for Quality Teaching and Learning, I encourage you to go to their website. You can go through that link there because they have really targeted this topic, and they've sort of phrased it as engaging interactions and environments. But here they have quite a number of PowerPoints with handouts with tips for teachers, tips for families, and tips for supervisors when it comes specifically to things like fostering connections and fostering students' communication, scaffolding, and feedback loops. Those are all key components to class instructional support. I strongly recommend you check out that website. So I want to talk a little bit about class as far as coaching goes. We just did quite a bit on resources that you can find online. And then I want to talk a little bit about some other ways you can get started with class. Again, I'm sure many of you are doing a lot of this. I don't have your chat to see that, but I trust it is happening. But just as a way to get started, there's some basics that we actually articulated these in an October webinar. So I'm referencing that because it seemed to be that these were topics people wanted to know then, so we're kind of refreshing them. But really an important thing for class is for you as a coach or for you as a director to observe and articulate some specific goals to work on with teachers. Now this is assuming that you are trained in the class and are a reliable observer. And if you're not, that's okay. You can come to a training, or maybe you can find a colleague who is, and they can help out. But what we recommend is that you, after establishing a positive relationship, do an initial observation focusing on class dimensions. And then we also would recommend to note whether the interactions you see are low, mid, or high range in each dimension. Now, we encourage you to notice the range, not the specific score, because there can be a lot of variation, and often when teachers hear scores, they get very set on particular numbers, and it could create problems later when their actual rating occurs. And since these are all rated sites, you may have already encountered something like that. So based on low, mid, high, identify strengths and areas to improve. And then plan for information sharing and collaborative goal setting related to these priority areas. So then you're going to share with, your teacher or maybe director and coach together. I actually want to pause to find out now, are there any questions or things coming up that I need to address, Kelly or Sue? Okay, I don't hear anything, so I will keep charging forward. Please stop me if there's anything I need to cover. So we have already done our pre-assessment, and then let's go to the next slide. All right, and I don't know if we're having a hard time going to the next slide. Oh, here we go. Great. And so here, this is a very wordy and dense slide, but here I'm going to pull together a few things. So I think probably coaches and directors, you know that just talking with teachers about scores sometimes does motivate change, sometimes does get them ready to go and is enough information, and sometimes they need a little bit more. They need to engage not only in data, but also in awareness and understanding of class concepts. So here's where we would encourage you all to engage teachers in learning and practice and reflection. First, by engaging them in awareness and understanding of class concepts. So maybe some training, maybe some information on the class itself to help them make sense of their scores. Again, I'm going to reference these resources that I talked about before from the sequelcoach.org site and from the NCQTL site. On sequelcoach.org, there is Working the Muscles of the Mind. This really targets instructional support. And again, on the NCQTL, there is Fostering Children's Thinking Skills and many other topics. And then, again, the teachstone.com video library. So this may be an opportunity to bring together your observations, those scores, and then some new information to engage teachers in thinking about this practice. Once you've shared scores and talked with teachers about specific practices, making sure they're aware and engaged in the class concepts, can be a time to engage teachers then in thinking about, okay, what do I want to try here? And so we think about this in terms of practice, reflection, and feedback. So to engage in practice, we're encouraging them and coaching them to set a goal, right? What will they try? So we know our scores, and we have some ideas now about what concept development looks like. What do you want to try? And the resource you could use for that, and this is listed on the right, or in the chat screen, is the Goal Setting and Action Planning Guide. If you open that up, that has prompts that help teachers kind of determine their focus, and then also some specific steps they're going to take. So this is there to help you as a coach engage teachers in setting a SMART, that is specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely goal from the get-go. Now that doesn't replace what you would put into WELLS for their quality improvement plan, but it provides documentation for their own guidance and accountability. And then we would encourage some reflection. So setting the goal, and then this is accountability and follow-up, asking them, how did it go? So this can be done in a number of ways. They may set a goal and you might record it through video and put it on the coaching companion, and then ask them to watch and say, how did that go? Or you could do a live observation and then engage them in reflection. So there's a number of ways you can engage teachers in reflection. There's also a resource. It's called Online Communities of Practice Reflection Prompts. You could do it through online, or you could do it in person. It just gives you ideas of ways to set up observing practice and then reflecting on practice individually and as a group. And finally, providing feedback. So not only do we want teachers to reflect, but you as a coach or director who's in the classroom may need to provide feedback. So what you noticed, typically feedback is positive feedback, although there may be times that you need to give corrective or constructive feedback. And there's another resource, feedback conversation starters, that you can use to get you started in that. Great. And I don't think that we can jump over to the coaching companion, although Sue or Kelly, do you have that power? Yes. Okay, good. And you would have to sign in. It might or it might not work.
Hey, Soleil, it's Sue Rose. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good. I want you to know that I did try talking to you earlier, and we were having some technical difficulties. So there were no questions or anything in the chat box, so you were great to move on. And then it looks like Svenja is trying to log in.
Great.
Oh, nice.
And just scroll. You can hit that top coaching companion with the icon in the middle of your web browser there. Uh-oh. Well, maybe we'll come back to this another time.
Okay. Okay. Are we going anywhere? Oh, it looks like we're trying to log back in.
Here we go. Great. Go to hit one new notification.
Great. Oh, good job. Okay.
Great. And you're selecting a coach. That's good. Now you can go to focused observation.
Okay.
Great. And then you can go to that center icon that's blue, red, and yellow.
Okay.
And scroll down. Okay. Well, it looks like there is not the focus observation embedded here yet. So for those of you on the line who already have Coaching Companion accounts, you can still go to that link and you will see that sample focused observation and feedback. And Svenja, I think we would have to get your account registered further in order to see it here. But that's okay. Sorry about that.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so we'll get you back to your PowerPoint.
We just had a nice little look at the Coaching Companion, though, and so you can see how that's looking if you haven't been there before. So that's where you would see an example of some coaching feedback. And, you know, you can always email me, actually, if you have any questions about navigating the Coaching Companion. And also, your coach consultant, who will be Wendy Jantz, is very equipped and ready to help you navigate that as well. That is what she does quite a bit of the time these days. So you will get all the help you need with that. Okay. One more thing, and this is another resource in the box to the right, is just another resource that can help us really think about concept development. Now, I've worked with teachers who sometimes it just takes a lot of explaining. People often think, and I often thought I was doing really great concept development, but really it wasn't helping. It wasn't working the muscles of the mind, right? You know, you're really doing challenging work when children have to stop and think, and we give them the space, and then they can respond, and they're really working through stuff. A lot of times teachers, we don't give quite the space for that or have quite the right prompts to get it going. So SQL and actually some data collectors who teach courses in instructional support and see many classrooms made this chart, which was to help people get started. You can't read anything here, and I'm sorry about that. But what the chart has are all these question and sentence starters, and they really target some specific parts of concept development. So for example, analysis and reasoning, and then they help teachers think about, well, how could I do that at mealtime? How could I do that at small group time? How could I do it during free play? Because again, what we often see is teachers think that circle time is concept development time, and they spend a lot of time talking to children about concepts as opposed to embedding them throughout the day. And really, to move those scores up in class, we need to see this sort of thinking embedded throughout the day. So for example, under integration and small group, kind of in the middle there, it asks, remember how the colors change when we mix the colors in the water table last time? Right? So we're bringing in previous experience about a concept that's color change and mixing, and inviting children then to comment on that. So that's a small group integration question, a way to get concept development throughout the day. So this chart gives them all the answers, or all the questions anyway. And then there's one more chart, and it's on the next slide. And then, oh, sorry, this is a close-up. And you can, I'm sorry, you can go to the next slide. This again just reiterates those specific questions. Then we have one that has blank boxes, and this is for those of you who like to do training or maybe want to have a one-on-one with your teacher about how can we really brainstorm in our class, our room specifically, and maybe even around a specific curriculum topic. So you guys are exploring over the summer water. And then that you could say, okay, our key concept or our key idea for the summer is water and measuring water, or the water system. How could we talk about and bring it into meal through analysis and reasoning? How could we do this in small group through creating? So you could get really specific with a theme or a topic, or you could just prompt teachers in groups to think, how will we do this? And this is an activity that could take a little bit of time because teachers need time to really think about it and to challenge themselves to prepare to engage in concept development. And that's my last slide. So I just gave some quick tips and some ideas about class and some different things from online resources. And if there are any questions, let me know.
Soleil, this is Sue Rose. Well done. Thank you so much, and I'm hoping you can hear me.
I can hear you.
Oh, I'm so glad. I tell you, that's some of the stress, just the technology piece. So I don't see any questions that have come in, but I wanted to jump back to the consultation piece and let everyone know that when Soleil was talking about the coach consultation that's available to each of you, you should be seeing an introductory email from Wendy Jans. She'll email you and let you know who she is, and she'll say if you would like to have some coach consultation, you guys can work together to schedule some time. And your assigned pre-K specialist will also be a part of those conversations as well to help support you in this process. So Wendy Jans is who you should see an email from in the next week or so, okay? And then I'm going to check the questions box one more time here really quick. I did lose Svenja, so I didn't lose her. She had to leave. I am managing the question box, so everyone just be a little patient. So we do have one question around the matrix. Soleil, is the matrix still available in Spanish? It apparently at one point was.
It is, yes it is, and it should be on the Coaching Companion.
Okay, on the Coaching Companion.
You know, actually, it might not be. So let me send that along with these other resources, and I'll send it directly to you, Sue, and you can redistribute it. Is that okay?
That sounds fantastic. And then we have Janine asking about the full address for NCQTL, so the National Center for Quality Teaching and Learning. I don't have it in front of me, Janine. It's on another slide, so I can't even type it into the chat box for you. But that is also something that we will make a note of to send out to each of you. Kelly and I will make sure that each of you on this will get the Oh, it looks like, oh, Kelly DeBoer is answering some of these. This is so awesome. We'll make sure to get you the website address for the NCQTL.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I know, okay, are you finding that?
I am, let's see. It would take me a moment to find the address in your PowerPoint.
I'm gonna
So
add it to.
actually, and Kelly DeBoer, if you wouldn't mind finding that website and then typing it into for everyone to see, we'll make sure that that gets out during this webinar.
Yes, I can do that right now. So
thank you, Kelly.
Great.
Okay, great. The other thing that I wanted to say as well, just kind of swooping back, so Soleil, I haven't seen anything else. So I just want to say thank you, and thank you to Monica and Mariana for joining us today, and we really appreciate the support and coming together.
Thank you.
I wanted to loop back around to when I was talking about who is participating in remedial activities, and I have Manette Mason in the room with me, and she brought up a very valid point. So if you happen to have a level 3 site where the ECAP classrooms did not meet the minimum thresholds on ECHRS or class, your site can go through the certification process where UW will actually come out and only go into the ECAP classroom to conduct both of those tools, or the area of deficit, or wherever you had areas of improvement, whichever tool. So Manette, is that right, or do I need to say anything else?
No, you're correct. And I just, what I would add to that is that it is still on a 6-month time frame, however, so you wouldn't be in remedial activities per se, because you're just going through certification, but you would still have to get your classroom recertified or certified, whatever the case is, within 6 months from the rating date. So it follow the timeline, you just wouldn't go through an entire re-rate like level 2 sites would.
Okay, great. That's helpful. So if you feel like you are supporting a site in which this is the case and you have questions or want additional support, please just remember that Kelly DeBoer and myself are available. We've got Manette here as well. Just email us and we will work to help answer your questions. Okay, and it looks like Kelly DeBoer was also able to get that NCQTL website in the questions box, so you can look there. All right. Okay, so now we have questions for the field. So Kelly, I think this is you.
yes. So if we go to the next slide, we really want, we've heard from several coaches around support for class or support for ECHRS or just some broad brushstroke topics. But what we're really wanting to get to now is what are some specific types of support or training or resources that you're finding is most needed by the sites that you're supporting in remedial activities. Are there specific pieces that are needed? Because that's what we're really wanting to offer support to you all in. So now we want to hear from you. So if you could please type your response into the question box or simply raise your hand and we can unmute you, because this is the part of the webinar where we really want to hear from you all.
Great, and so I am seeing that Anastasia has her hand raised, and what I'd like to try to do is unmute her. And I have. Anastasia, are you there? I hear something. Oh, there.
Oh, I'm so sorry. The system worked, so that's a good news, but I really didn't have any questions. Thank you.
Oh, okay. No questions. Okay. I will just start sharing what people are interested in having additional support, training, or resources in. And I'm seeing that we have one person saying an in-depth instructional support training for staff would be great. Behavior management and team building. Setting up goals and being able to reach a higher level. And understanding of where to go after being at a level from early achievers. Let's see, it says if there is time, can they review the slide with the timeline for remedial activities and what items need to be entered into WELS? Is there written guidance on this process? That's a great question, Christy. And so we can definitely go back to that slide. I'm going to scroll down in this here. Chris says it would be ideal if there was funding so teaching teams could participate in coach meetings at the same time. I like that idea. Teaching teams could be, yes, okay, yeah, totally. So you could have someone in the classroom so that you have your teaching team, all of them out of the class at the same time to talk and work towards that goal. And okay, Deborah Shope has a great question. Is that ECAP certification process different from the free re-rate option for ECAP classrooms that did not make thresholds?
Hi, Deborah. It's Manette. So, yes, the ECAP certification would only be for sites that are at a level 3, ECAP sites that have already reached a level 3, whereas the re-rate option is already available in Merit. So we haven't actually finalized the process for how to request a recertification for ECAP, and so as soon as we get that figured out, we can let everybody know.
Okay, great. Thanks, Manette. Great question, Deborah. And you know, Janine Johnson brings up a good point too. So for newly rated sites, the teachers should have some required classes as well because they seem to be in the dark about early achievers in general. So directors attend classes, but it doesn't seem to be working well, leaving that piece up to providers to share with teachers. So we do find that it's important that it goes back to that partnership slide that I put together about like making sure that the information doesn't stay at just one level, either at just the teachers, like the site director, the ECAP contractor. Everybody needs to be aware of what's happening and really understand what early achievers is about, because that truly is, and Manette, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it really feels like that's when we see the most success, is when everyone really understands what early achievers is and what the timelines are and what the benefits are, and so that we're all working towards that same goal. So offering additional support directly to teaching staff sounds like something that people might be interested in.
I also want to add to that a lot of resources are available on our website already that anybody can access. So I don't know how often teachers are given that information, but I would definitely let them know that as well. And if they are able to get onto Coaching Companion, there's a lot of resources there as well. But anything just general early achievers wise, yeah, there's definitely all those resources online, and I don't mind answering questions as well. I do, if a teacher was to ask me something directly, I will loop the whoever the primary EA rep is, or whoever the contractor is, and also the pre-K specialist, because we definitely want to make sure that everybody's looped in on that. But I do agree. I think it does need to go all the way down to the site level.
Yeah.
Even to parents. Even to parents.
Yeah, parents need to be on board about what early achievers is and the importance of what's happening. That's great. Good. So if anybody wants to talk, I'll give you we would love to, we want to unmute people really bad. And so we want to hear your voice and really give you a chance to have your voice heard and really make this a conversation. We want to be collaborative in our work with you. We want to learn beside you. So please feel free to share with us. So what I'm going to do, feel free to continue to add any questions that come up, put those in there. We'll, I'm going to move to the next slide. Oh, okay, so now I'm going to actually launch a poll. Okay, yeah, so what we were wondering is we thought, hey, let's find out if this webinar did a decent job of meeting your needs today. And so if you wouldn't mind taking the poll. We would appreciate it. And then I will go ahead and look back, while you guys are doing that, I'm going to look in the questions. Okay, great. So Veronica has a great question, and Manette, we might be able to actually take our coaches to this resource. So the question is, where am I able to get resources specifically for our parents and families that talk about the importance of early achievers, and are there some in Spanish? Okay, and I'm going to take just a few more seconds to close out this poll, and then we can maybe go there now. So, okay. Almost done. Okay, and I'm going to share. Okay, so it looks like we got some people who, so 50% of you are like, yeah, some of my goals, some of my needs were met during this time. But it looks like there's still a lot, well, I guess to me a lot is 6% and 6%. Is that not at all? And then still having some questions. And I want you to know that it's totally okay to still have questions at this point. And just know that the fact that you can ask these questions, we will work to get you the support that you need and the answers to your questions. So this isn't the only time that we're going to be talking with you and working with you. Okay.
And Sue, this is Kelly, and I just want to invite those folks who maybe still have questions or whose needs weren't met during this to email us. So if there's specific things we can provide, we'd love to have a conversation around that.
Absolutely. So what I'd like to do here, we have our resources available at the Department of Early Learning, and so it's important for everyone to know that our DEL website has a new look. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take us there really quick because, so I bookmarked this. But this is our new homepage. So it's pretty snazzy. It looks really pretty, I think. And you'll see that right here in the bottom left-hand corner, it says Early Childhood Education and Assistance Program. We will click there, but Manette, am I right that I would just click on Early Achievers in order to get to the family information? Okay, so I'm going to click on this little guy here.
So all of our handouts have not quite uploaded yet. There's actually quite a bit more that's available. This one does have the video for families. The other, and I would definitely be watching this video or sharing this video with families. It's only about 3 or 4 minutes. It's kind of cool. But definitely review some of this information. When we went to the new website, I don't know that everything got transferred over.
Right.
You can also, if you're looking for translated documents, you can type in Early Achievers, translate. in the search. So I will have to, there it is, translated early achievers information.
Nice.
And this is nice because there's all those documents.
Cool.
And so you can kind of go through this and see what you need. And if there's a document that you need that's not translated or you don't find it on here, shoot me an email and I'll see what I can find out for you.
And that's Manette Mason.
Yeah. But that's, a lot of people don't even realize this is available. So.
Right. That's very nice. Thank you so much. So let's just go back to our questions and see. Okay, Veronica. Okay, I don't think that we have any new questions. Oh, yeah? Okay, I will keep going. So now the other part, is going back to the ECAP resources around coaching, and we had a couple people ask questions about where they can find this webinar. And so I clicked on that ECAP tile, and that brought us here. And then if you go to right here where it says ECAP documents, that will take you to the page that actually looks pretty similar to how our page was set up in the last platform. But you'll see the coach webinars. These are the orientations. And then we will place today's webinar under, it says monthly coach webinars. So it'll say summer 2016 coach webinar. But we also have handouts here as well. The remedial activities policy is here, along with that coach collaboration guidance, and then tools and resources to support remedial activities. Okay. So let me go back to the PowerPoint. Okay, and then there's also for Sequel's website is also available with their resources, and Soleil talked about that already. And then we just wanted to make sure that you know who you can reach out to. Policy-related questions and technical assistance, you can talk to your pre-K specialist. If you're not sure who that is, we do have a link here that will tell you who the assigned pre-K specialist is. So it has our contact information on page 1, and if you're like, yeah, but that still doesn't tell me who is assigned, this will tell you that Peggy Brown is with Aberdeen School District. And so you just find your contractor, and then you can find the specialist. And then anything related to like the technical aspect of WELS, you can email the QRIS inbox. And then coaching related questions, you can email Kelly DeBoer and myself. So let me just check the question box one last time. Okay, and it doesn't look like anything new has come in. Kelly DeBoer, have you seen anything else?
No, I've been watching and I don't see anything new, Sue.
Okay, great. So we will continue to support you as you work through this process. We're here to answer individualized questions after this. And then Kelly DeBoer has also been sending out like any training opportunities that come up. And so any questions that you have after you exit this webinar, just send them to us and we'll get you in touch with the right people so that you're feeling like you have the support and resources you need to be successful. Okay, so again, thank you, Monica, Mariana, Soleil, Kelly DeBoer. Thank you so much. Manette, thanks for joining us. And I will go ahead and exit this webinar for everyone. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.